Dr. George Schofield joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Focus 50 Plus, and we're focusing on loneliness
Today we want to talk about loneliness because it's in the news a lot, about seniors being lonely. So I thought, and it's come up with 3 different clients this week, so I thought that we should begin to talk about it.
I don't know if this is a misconception, but I think people think loneliness is inevitable. Is that true?
Loneliness is not inevitable. Of course, as we get older, we're going to have losses because that happens.
Right.
You know, people are going to move away, or they're not going to be so able. But I think it's really important to distinguish between alone and lonely.
Okay. The difference is?
My own personal story is that years ago, when I was a single parent and I had little boys running around, a counselor challenged me to go camping by myself for 5 days.
Really?
I didn't know how to be alone. By the 3rd day, I thought I was going to die. But I've always been grateful to that counselor because it opened up a whole other capacity in my life that I didn't know that I needed. So I'm not saying that we want to be alone tons, but if you're never alone, I think that doesn't develop that capacity in you, and alone is not the same as lonely.
Okay, so when should we start working on, maintaining sort of like our social networks and things like that?
Yeah, well, I think that's lifelong, but for those of us who are over 50, the time to start working on that is not necessarily later in life. It's that shift point around 50 because our relationship to our work can change. Kids can go away. Some of our friends develop different interests. If a lot of our friends are our friends because we sat together at soccer games for years and years cheering,
right.
Some of that will go away. So there are natural shift points. And what's to understand is that it's not unnatural, but we really have to pay attention to what the networks are that we want, because it's very individual. It's like fingerprints. Some people want lots of people in their networks. Some people really only want a few.
All right. So, are there sort of things we can do to sort of formalize that in our plan?
Absolutely. The first thing to do is pay attention to who's in your network now.
Okay.
I would say that you want to look at 2 things. One, you want to look at the core group, who's in your core group, and then the next circle out, who do you not know as well, but they're interesting to you. So that's the first thing to do, is write it down.
Okay.
Second of all, you need to begin to pay attention to, is it the right people? Is it the right size? Do you have the right diversity in it of interests? Are there people doing things that you don't know about that would be stimulating to you? I had a client who, in her 80s, who suddenly realized she was going to be the only surviving member of her core group. And so we had to develop a plan for her to create relationships with a lot of younger people, which meant she couldn't just do it where she lived. She had to join other organizations and do things. She was amazing. So she really went after it. In fact, she lived to be almost 100.
That's fantastic. All right. As always, really, really interesting stuff, and I love this topic too.
Good.
Loneliness is a big one. Yeah. All right.
See you next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
See you guys after this. Stick around.